Welcome to week 2 of Advancing Professional Career. I am very excited about the conversations that we're having, particularly in the Metagogy Forum. I think that this is going to be really interesting and exciting for us as we take the different roles of leader and learner and go back and forth. I am going to continue to spark our interest with various things, but please do let me know if you want to do that, and I will post your idea, or you can, to the forum. And so I'll make sure that that's possible. I know that we had a little bit of a hiccup this week, and I thank you very much for pointing that out, and I will do my best to avoid that for the future so that we can be flexible in taking the leader role. So this week we are asking the question, where do we want to take our careers? And we've got a framework that you probably have all looked at. So let's take a look at that framework and kind of walk through that. So the framework for week 2, where do we want to take our professional career? This is looking at chapters 1 and 2 of Cranton's Professional Development as Transformative Learning and chapter 1 of Michael Fullan's Leading in a Culture of Change. So Cranton is giving us a sense of what professional development is, particularly with respect to transformative learning, and she is, even though, and I do want to recognize the how old this text is, nonetheless, she introduces topics that aren't otherwise discussed in the literature, at least that I can find a very good text for, and I will continue to look. So Cranton concludes that adult educator development involves increasing instrumental, practical, and emancipatory knowledge. However, in practice, it's the instrumental knowledge that seems to be privileged. And I think that we find that regardless of where our careers have taken us, that we want to, in the professional world, quantify what, in our assessments, our productivity, our even creativity. We want to count those things instead of look at the qualitative measures, or even in the qualitative world we don't even discuss measures, but looking at what's accomplished and to have an environment conducive to real creativity. We in the university are more and more wanting to treat the university as a business world, and so want to run it as lean and mean. And the same is true, of course, in the business world, that is the thrust. And so we have things like Six Sigma and lean and other widget counting measures of productivity, and not looking, and I give you that this is an easier way to do it. It's a way that can be reported in a way that makes sense and to those people who are decision makers, but it seems to stifle creativity and innovation. So as we think about transformative learning that reaches beyond those things, we have to recognize that we are in conflict with another world that really has dominance right now. And so we have to provide those growing spaces for ourselves in our own careers, and not necessarily try to only color within the lines, to only count the things that are accomplished, because failure is growing. I had a physicist friend of mine who said, if I'm not failing half the time, 50% of the time, I'm not even trying. So in today's world, he would probably be booted out. It doesn't look like that you're trying at all if you're failing 50% of the time. But he's the kind of person who is actually looking at finding oil in in space debris in order to, in the ice of various kinds of rocks that are in space. And he says there's plenty of oil, and he's doing all kinds of things in order to bring that, to mine oil in that way, rather than on our rock, the earth. So that's maybe a far reach from the kinds of things that we're thinking about doing, but really map that across if you can, to be bold, be imaginative, and consider what might be done, rather than say, it can't be done, I've tried it already, or others have. So think about your career in that way. Folan also was looking at change and leadership in a changing time, and we certainly are, even though his text also is an older text, 15 years old, I believe. His text still resonates with us, doesn't it? Because really, in 2016, we are very much embroiled in change. So consider all of the ways, and his first chapter is an overview, but then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts. And one of the first things he's going to talk about is a moral investment, where we really are grounded before we move anywhere. We need to know who we are, what we believe in, what our values are. Okay, we've got several supplements for our reading, and I've got them posted but not listed right here. Then we have an activity. So, based on career planning and personal development plan, there's sample articles, readings. Discuss the following in your group. And we did decide to stay with just 4. And the reason is where we're going with our activity this week. I want you to provide deep feedback, challenging feedback, helpful feedback for each of the 3 other members of your group. If we could expand to 8 members in a group, but then that would mean, I think, that there would simply be less time for you to give really rich feedback to the members of your group. 7 is a lot. I think only 3 will be really, really helpful for you to get to know and to provide even challenging feedback to help your group members reach beyond where they might think about taking their professional career. So 4 class members each form our mentor groups. Discuss present state and future state in your leading and learning careers in your current organizations. Now we're going to go beyond current organizations, but let's talk about where we are right now. And recognize maybe some of us don't even want to move past our current organizations, but that does not mean we can't really enrich our roles within them, or take them in new directions, or really expand them. So let's just take a look at that. So there are 5 questions that you're going to respond to. What is your current state? What does being in your current state get for you? Now this is an awkward question grammatically, but I think that we can answer it when it's posed in this way. What does it get for you professionally? And when you say one thing, ask that question again. Well, it gets for me a salary. Okay, what does a salary get for you? What gets for me stability? What does stability get for you professionally and personally? Well, it gets for me some recognition. Well, what does that get for you? Get to a value that is a deep core value that you can't move beyond, because that is the nugget that will let you know that's what being in your current job right now, your current profession, situation, position right now gets for you. And that's critical to understand. What is it in your desired state with regard to your current organization, and actually go ahead and expand to another if you wish, leading, learning, growing yourself in any possible career. And again, imagine your career. What might being in your desired state get for you? And continue to ask those questions until, excuse me, you get, until you get to a really, really core nugget of your core values. And what resources do you need to move from where you are right now to that imagined, desired state? Our next project is due February 7th, and it is the Professional Membership Selection and Critical Journal Review. You will evaluate and join a professional organization and its peer-reviewed journal that's written for that professional discipline. Now, it's possible that that's going to be a trade journal, and that's fine. I'm hoping it will be a scholarly journal. And then write a critical journal review. See the rubric, the instructions in the rubric on our right side of our course menu. Let's go there. Right here. And that will tell us what we need to do in order to fulfill that particular project assignment. Oops, that's the leading learning. Actually, our membership and critical review is right up here. It's our first one. So let's take a look at those and go ahead and begin working on them. February 7th is when they are due. Okay, so now let's look at our new Medagogy Forum. Here we're going to be discussing what does it mean to live an extraordinary life. Again, imagine what that is for you. What does it mean to live an extraordinary life? Jim Ron is going to talk about that, and he will be the impetus for our discussion, and then we'll talk about what is an extraordinary life for you. We'll give feedback in our groups. All right. So this is where we are. And this is how we're going to begin for this week. All right. I'm looking forward to it. Let's have a fascinating second week.